pandemic. And I've never experienced a pandemic before. Believe me, this is my first time. The closest was back home when I was in Nigeria, which was SARS. But that didn't really make a huge impact in Nigeria, but other parts of the world experienced it, which wasn't really a pandemic, it was an epidemic. And this year was a strange one. And as an educator, and I'm not speaking for other educators, but based on the conversations that I've had with other educators, there were some big changes that made us to adapt to the new climate that we are in, and how we can actually put the students' heart or students' interest first before any other thing. So first here, we're going to look at the agenda for today. So today, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit, and then we'll look at teaching before COVID and teaching during COVID, and then we're going to follow up with the future of education, and then talk about transparency, and finally resources for parents to be aware of for their kids to be successful during these particular challenging times. So in here, we're going to first look at the introduction. So first off, thank Madam for introducing me. I have no further things to say. And looking into now the teaching before COVID. Before COVID, there were a lot of great activities that students were exposed to, either run by teachers, but also run by parents and also community leaders. And all these activities made students to be well-rounded and also be influential in their communities and also in the country that they are in. And when I came into the teaching profession, that was in 2019, I had the great pleasure of working at the Okoduwa Catholic. Currently, I'm working at the Okoduwa Catholic School Board as a supply teacher. And during that period, I had the opportunity to move from one school to another, getting to reach out to students and get a feel on how the community in those schools is like. And it was really an interesting experience to see how different one school is from another school, in terms of the community that they established and how diverse that is, or how diverse that community is in those schools. And when COVID arrived in, it was a big uncertain situation, not only for the teachers and also the administrators, but also the leaders that were involved in making policies and trying to get to know the COVID-19 virus. And that led to the shutdown. And during that shutdown, students, I remember during that period, there were a lot of questions that we didn't have answers to as teachers. And we were overwhelmed, according to the previous speaker, with information coming from all sides, even from people that didn't really know too much about the virus, and we're all left with fear and worry. And that shutdown extended, and that affected the schools. And students weren't able to get the quality education that was really required at that particular time. However, teachers, we did try our best, and also the board, to be able to reach out to the students, reach out to the parents, see what situation they are facing, how can we foster a mental health that is actually going to be suitable for them in these uncertain times. And I remember then we had to create a Google form, and using technology, that was a little introduction for students to get a feel on how what technologies we will be using and how that is going to make an impact in their learning. So that was really a big step for we as teachers and educators to be able to tap into, and that actually allowed us to diversify our way of making the students to feel welcoming and also feel that they can be successful with or without COVID. So during that period, there are some stories that came up concerning how can we actually reopen schools, and all those uncertain times led the board to be able to come up with interesting ways to actually keep students safe when coming to school, and also introduce a new, I would say, but improved way of reaching out to students at home, which is using virtual academy. And so there was an option for parents to get the students or any students into virtual academy, and also if they don't feel that is going to be a conducive way, if they don't have technology at home, they can come in person, and also create a structure and a routine that will enable the students to actually feel safe and welcoming, and also be successful in the school. So when this structure was in place, we, thanks to all the leaders involved in creating this structure, we had a hand sanitizer in every single location. We had one movement around the school. Instead of using many exits, we had one exit, one entry to keep everything flowing. And also we introduced a staggered entry and exit, where some grades come in at a specific time, and while other grades will come in at a different time. And that was one of the ways by which we can actually start from that particular stage and move on to other ways by which we can actually make the school to be more spirit-filled in terms of collaboration with parents and teachers in a way. And one other thing that we actually introduced was, how can we get parents to actually get information that is really important for the students to that is really important for students to actually feel that they can actually accomplish something in the school. And we went through a couple of ways by which we can introduce technology, like for example, the use of Google Mail, getting students to get comfortable using technology, like use of Google sites, and also the use of Remind apps, so that students can actually know what particular information that the teachers require them to use in order for them to get some of the projects done. And all these little things comes with time and flexibility in the educator's side, but also from the school and the parents as well, in order for the students to feel that they can actually accomplish something despite the barriers that is set in place in their lives. So while Virtual Academy was able to cater for students that had technology in school, at home, sorry, for those that were coming into schools, they had limited use of technology, and this is different from one school to another. So one school, you might have a lot of students that don't need that particular structure because they have that at home, and while some other schools, they really need to be able to have those tools that will be needed for them to be successful. So as a result of that, this led to some great successes and some little challenges along the way. Like for example, we had internet glitching here and there, and also some teachers adapting to the new style of teaching and delivering lessons, and at the same time students being able to be fluent in those use of technologies that is available or presented to them in order for the students to be comfortable and be successful. So all this comes down to what is the mental state of the students. How are they feeling in those particular intense, strict environment where they don't have that many contacts with their peers, and how the cohorts that were created for them to actually stay in, how is that impacting their level of learning, not only from the teacher perspective, but from their peers, because that is really important for the students to feel that they are well-rounded learners, being able to have a honest and safe conversation with their peers and seeing how they can be able to be successful using technology in a collaborative way. So these challenges in terms of of the students' ability to communicate with their peers was or is currently one of the big things that we are, as teachers are trying to, look for innovative ways to tackle, and also look for how we can actually make let the parents to know what is the student's current state and how can the students move further in order for them to achieve more goals slowly along the way. So this actually made I would say, to actually make the students to use apps that actually fosters a way by which one student can actually communicate with others, and also some wonderful tweets from some of the teachers were shared with some other educators to actually foster a more inclusive environment for the student. We showed some videos on what is happening currently in various areas around the world and how can students express themselves using various technologies like Peer Deck to actually comment on and actually discuss as a class. And all these little technologies that are currently in place and more that will be introduced is one of the things that is making technology to evolve, education to evolve into something quite unique. And even though COVID seems like a big setback for what we are actually experiencing right now, it brings or shines light on what are the things that we as educators, as parents, and as guardians can do to better reach out to students that are marginalized, students that are coming from a low economic class, students that find it difficult to actually organize their way of thought and learning, and also looking at how we can actually combat the idea of racism and also various, I would say, barriers, I would say, in their learning. So all this has made us to actually look for innovative tools to actually be observant on what can we do and how can we encourage students to feel that they can accomplish great things, not only in classroom, but at home. So as a result of that, couple of great tools that I'll recommend for parents is please make good use of valuable resources like communication or getting to know what public health, like for example public health in Ottawa or Ottawa Public Health states in terms of what schools and also how to follow guidelines, and also the communication with parents. I feel that is really important because right now, currently, we are in midterms, or I'll say not midterms, we're almost done midterms, and also for some schools that are entering quadrimester 2. So all these things, I feel parents should be on the loop on on students' progress, and also how have a communication with your kid on what are the challenges that you faced during this particular 3 months that you've had in school, in school, and what can we provide to them? Don't be shy, be open, and how can the parent, based on the information collected, share it with the teachers so the teachers can create a conducive environment for the students to actually be successful and feel healthy. Other things also includes I would say go to social media that much, but I would say go on Twitter. You can click or follow the school board. It depends whether it's like the Ottawa Catholic School Board or the Ottawa Carleton District School Board. Go to their Twitter. They actually update parents on stuff like the use of busing, and also how can you navigate through various technologies that students are exposed to. And one other thing is actually looking for ways to actually reach out to other community members using, technology to get input and also get a concrete plan that will make the school and also students to feel that they can actually use the new technologies and also community involvement to be a productive members in the community. Because right now, there's not many volunteering positions out there compared to back then. And right now, since the grade 12s, they are kind of having struggles. They are struggling in terms of what are the new requirements for them to graduate, because usually you get 40 hours enough for you to satisfy your graduation requirements. But now what opportunities are out there that community members, like for example, the church or other areas around the community, can actually get students to actually get creatively involved in to actually satisfy those particular requirements for them to be successful in high school. So all these things are one of the challenges slash, I would say, issues that we as a community can put in our students for them to be able to feel that they can succeed during these challenging times. These are some of the things that mental health, Ottawa Public Health introduced. There were like a couple of steps. You can find this on the Ottawa Public Health website. And during this particular time as well, there has been some changes in terms of, virtual academy and how some students now are moving more into virtual academy. And so some schools are having challenges in terms of finding more teachers. And all these challenges are some of the things that, we are actually looking for creative ways to actually, get the best out of the educational system during these challenging times. And we've hired a lot of teachers currently, I think, according to what I've listened to so far. And also we've actually reached out to community to look for classroom supervisors to actually come in and actually facilitate the smooth classroom management that is happening in the schools. So is it possible to move on to the next slide, please? Sorry. Oh, thank you. And these here are some of the interesting points that was introduced according to one of the study and recommendations for parents to actually build a healthier mental state for those kids, for their kids. One is emphasizing people's resilience. Another one is highlighting positive outcomes. One other is compassion and showing or highlighting humanity. And then monitoring the news. There might be some things that may come up that you will need to be aware of, either through a couple of, recommended, I would say recommended, how would I put it? News outlets that are really reliable, I'll put it that way. So I feel that you should be aware of those particular news outlets and get updates that are really important for you and for the safety of your kid. So if you feel that your kid is not as as successful as you would hope in the virtual academy, there is an option for in-class person, or there is an option for a hybrid state where the students can just take a break and move online, spend a couple of hours or weeks there, and then they feel that you want to transition back to in-class. That is a great option as well. Other ones include spending family time, quality time, I would say, together. Like from the past speaker, he had a nice routine, like making Nigerian food. That is really a fantastic way. It could be other tribes as well. It doesn't mean that it has to be one specific area. So I feel that is one fantastic way of going about it. Encouraging positive coping strategies, like exercising, staying active. It's challenging now as well because Before COVID, we have so many physical activities for students to tap into, but currently, some of the contact sports were kind of like limited, and so they had to depend on some sports that requires less contact, and the phys ed teachers are trying their best to introduce creative ways to get the students to be as active as they were before the lockdown. And that is one challenge, but at the same time, that is one success that has led to what we are currently facing right now. Another one is be reassuring to the students and to your kids that, you know what, we're going to get through this together. No matter what, there is hope. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. Just be patient, and be resilient, because right now we need that in our community. And also be good listeners and observers. Observe what your kids are doing, give that feedback to the teachers and see ways by which that effective communication can actually help the students or your kid to actually feel that, you know what, they can adjust and adapt to what is observed, and how can they be successful in getting those recommended tips in place right there. And then communicate with your school, like what I said, and then be aware of your own needs. Everyone has needs and wants. What are the necessary things that you all need is really essential, and all those essential things are what keeps us together. And once we have that taken care of, then we can move on one step at a time. That is the time for we to get that in our consciousness. I'll put it that way. And always ask questions. Right now, honestly, during the parent-teachers interviews, parents were willing to ask questions, the tough questions. And those tough questions, they need to be addressed in some way or another. And that is one of the ways by which we can move forward as not only as a community, but also as a family in here. And next slide, sorry. Thank you. So the future of education, we talked about it. And for the future of education, we looked at hybrid learning. That will be a big thing for sure. Infrastructure investment in the school systems. Right now, they're adding more schools, increasing the size of the schools, and that will lead to some interesting conversations in terms of the demographic makeup of the schools, in terms of diversity, and introducing an inclusive curriculum that meets every learners in our school system. So another one is caregiver involvement, which is we as parents. Well, I'm not a parent yet, but that will be something I'm going to keep in mind. So for caregivers involvement, how can we introduce diverse ways by which we can actually communicate effectively for the success of our learners? And finally, the mental health support. Right now, we have a couple of interesting Okoduwa Catholic School Board has a link that allows students to communicate with a psychiatrist or a psychologist to actually get help in terms of how they can actually cope in the current school system with keeping in mind the mental state of the students. So that is really one of the things that I hope that they invest in now and in the future, because of what we are facing right now in COVID era. And transparency, this actually comes into play. Yeah, that was I would say pamphlet that was displayed around the school I was in. And that pamphlet in that image on the top right, I think right, yes. Top right actually is the virtual, I would say stress coping group. And students, they did really take advantage of this to actually help them to actually see themselves as an inclusive part of the community. And this actually will help them to actually, boost their physical, academic, and social well-being. as time goes on. So everything is all about time. Please be patient with the students or with your kids. It's a slow process, but as time goes on, we are going to accomplish great things together. And that is the time that we're in, actually. And updates through school, public health, and school board social media handle. I mean, there are too many apps out there, but I'll recommend some of the things. Like, I go on Twitter to get more information because, I mean, no more newspapers. So, I mean, or you can go on Flipboard, I think. That will be one way to get reliable information. Like the previous speaker, not Snapchat. Snapchat is not a great idea. I don't know why the Snapchat picture is right there. No TikTok, no. I know some of you, some of the students, they love to go on TikTok. They get some of their nice dance moves, but no, that is not for important, essential information that is required for them to actually be safe and always wear their mask and keep the physical distance and also be able to sanitize as frequent as possible. Keep that reminding state. We'll always remind the kids always to actually follow those routines. Resources for parents, upcoming updates, ongoing phone communication with the parents and, you know, the administrators, school board, social media platforms, also use resources or through the resource teachers or ELL educators for you to actually get the other sides of the students' learning in place, and all those, like especially those teachers that really they do a fantastic job in actually getting input on how their learning could actually be you can boost the students' learning through innovative ways of using technology to actually get them to get that work done and improve the quality of that work during this particular period. And so, sorry. Yeah, and parent-teachers interviews. Please take advantage of it. Please always call teachers as a parent. And I feel that that will be a huge avenue to gain, you know, insight into how your kid is actually, you know, performing in school, performing in, you know, other activities, extracurricular activities, though limited, and also with their peers. So that is it for what I have right now. Those are the resources I was able to gather from my own experience. And yeah, that is it. So any questions? No? Okay. Thank you. A question? Yes, during COVID, currently, I'm not speaking for all the schools, but where I am currently, right now, we are like, it's challenging, I'll put it this way. Yes, for sure, but it's challenging because right now we are starting from, you know, the students first and looking at how the school can provide resources for the students to feel that, you know what, no matter where or no matter the experiences you're facing, you know, you're always welcome in the school. We created like like in our school, we introduced the breakfast club. We introduced like the student success, where students can actually get, you know, catch up on things that they've missed. And also we communicate with the parents on the state of the student and how you as a parent can actually, you know, be invested in the students' learning at home. Like, for example, there are some cases where students, they find it difficult to get, you know, their homework or assignment done, and I feel it's really important that that communication between the parents and the teacher is a nice way for the parents to be involved in the school system by helping the students or the parents' kid to actually, you know, get the essential work that is required for them to, you know, to be successful, to be done, operate that way. Also remind us the use of mask and sanitize. Sometimes I notice some students, they tend to not wear the mask properly. All those little things right there is the role where we encourage parents to keep that in the students or the kid consciousness that what, we got to keep them safe, and also keep others safe. If you don't think about yourself, think about others, and all that stuff is one of the ways right now that parents can actually be involved in the progress in the school system. As time goes on, right now we were involved in the Terry Fox event, and parents, they had the opportunity to donate, and others, like for example, I think there are other activities like that. So all those little things here and there, like for example, this coming Christmas, we are encouraging students to try and look for ways they can actually communicate with their parents on ways that we can donate to reach out to those that don't have that resources to enjoy Christmas in the best possible way. So all those things are one of the creative ways that we are trying to, maintain physical distancing, but at the same time getting stuff done that brings our community together. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Thank you. I just want to ask one more question.
Okay, please.
So there are different ways that children are learning now. Mm-hmm. So in-person, hybrid, and virtual. So are they all getting the same level of what they're supposed to learn, or is it different for each of those types of learning?
Oh, that is good. That's a good question. So I feel that there are two things that I believe we are following. One is be flexible in the learning of the students, and also time management, operate that way. So for example, in my classroom, I have a structure in place that allows every student to know where to go to, where to get information, and where to actually submit their work. For the school board, I know for the Ottawa Public Carleton District School Board, they use Google Classroom, and for me, we use Hapara Workspace. And Hapara Workspace, virtual kids, those that are working at home, those that are using the hybrid model, and those that are always in classroom, they all use that same workspace. So the quality of education, though, might be different in terms of the delivery of the lesson, because when I'm in classroom, I always deliver the lesson in person with the students. However, I think about other students in the classroom that are not in the classroom, So I record videos, and I share those videos to the best of my ability with the students that are, using the virtual space, and how can they actually follow the instructions using the videos to be successful in their assessment. So that diversity in how we deliver lesson is really one of the key things that makes we as educators to at least get a level of education that is equitable and is inclusive to all learners. So that is based on my example, and I think other teachers too, they follow that particular style of learning or teaching. Thank you. Any other questions? Thank you again.